This is TWiT.
Let's talk about personal assistants a little bit. The hardest way, the biggest problem with communicating with them is that they don't communicate like humans with GIFs.
So true.
And emoji and memes. And one roboticist set out several years ago to change all that. Welcome Abhishek Singh, creator of the Pico robot.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the show. I know you've been working on this a long time, but I first saw it earlier this week, and I immediately fell in love. So I want everyone else to fall in love, too. Tell me, what is Pico?
Well, that's exactly the kind of response I want people to elicit in people, is that feeling of falling in love with Pico. So Pico is a personal robot. He's a completely hackable, programmable personal robot that responds entirely through GIFs and video. I've built him out as a do-it-yourself kit, so you can actually get the joy and the pleasure of building him out yourself. And he's currently up on Kickstarter, so you can go ahead and back the production of building out these kits and get one for yourself.
I have backed it. I missed the early bird backing, but it was worth it. When I fall in love, you can't, easily separate.
You can't put price to love. Right?
Exactly. There's no price on love when it comes to robots. So how long have you been working on Pico?
So Pico, this entire process has definitely been a journey. So I started working on the first initial prototype of Pico about 4 years ago. And that was a time where I personally had absolutely no idea about programming. I had no idea about hardware. Didn't know the difference between an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi. And this was one of the first projects I picked up to get familiar with some of these things, because I personally believe a lot in learning by doing and project-based learning. So that's how it kind of started. So it's been about 4 years. It's gone through several iterations. And if you check out the Kickstarter, you can see kind of the progression and the evolution of Pico over the years. So it started off as just this little robot, which I built with the intention that I was spending so many hours alone by myself in front of the computer, that I thought it would be interesting to have a little desktop companion that would provide these little moments of delight and entertainment to get me through the day. And over the course of that thing, eventually the idea came up that I should have it respond through GIFs and videos, because how else do I communicate with my friends, and how else do we communicate in this new age of instant messaging? And it would give it not only a unique personality, but at the same time, it would get rid of that entire conversation of how do we get robots to emote, and how do we make something that's approachable and engageable.
I love that that it's a kit that people can put together. How complicated is this? It's based on Raspberry Pi, right?
Yes, so it's based on the Raspberry Pi, and that was a purposeful decision, because the Raspberry Pi comes with its own entire active, huge community. And I wanted to be an educational experience. I wanted to kind of people to be able to learn by building it themselves, and at the same time be able to program and hack it themselves. So yeah, it is based on the Raspberry Pi. The kit is extremely simple to kind of put together. I have focused on designing it in such a way that the only thing you need is essentially a Phillips screwdriver, no expensive soldering irons, no specific tools which we might not have lying at home, and the kit will come with that specific screwdriver as well.
It looks like Pico can wear different outfits. Is that true?
Pico can wear different outfits, yes. And I wanted that also to be one of its customization aspects, in terms of you might like Pico in a certain way, and I might like him with a certain different look completely. So while the kit doesn't come with different clothes, the ability to add your own outfit to him is extremely simple. It's just one single stitch line and a couple of holes.
So, obviously, the communication language is animated, GIFs or GIFs, however you want, whatever floats your boat. I don't even know where I stand on that, because I flip-flop so often.
Neither do I.
So those videos, that's the language here. Where are you pulling those from? And is there any sort of repetition? If someone was to give the same question 5 times in a row, 5 different GIFs and videos, or how is that supported?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So another big benefit of using these GIFs and videos as a response system is that you don't get the same boring responses to common questions. So it always keeps it kind of fresh and fun. How I pull these GIFs I use online sources for these GIFs. For GIFs, it's mostly Jiffy.com. For videos, it's this service called Vlipsy.com, which essentially has these short video snippets of reaction snippets, information snippets of cut out from various sources as well. So those are basically the online sources that I use. At the same time, you also have the ability to customize him by including your own local database of custom GIFs and responses. So if you, for example, are a huge maybe Star Wars or Superman fan and you want all your responses to just be through a custom curated set of GIF responses that you have collected over the years, you can just have him use those at that local database of GIFs to respond as well.
So the plans to Pico are open source. You put them online. Is that the current version, or is that an older version of Pico that has the plans online?
So the older version has all the plans online, including the electronics and the hardware. But that was wasn't a production ready prototype, to be honest. It was just like a prototype that I had hacked together, but was not something that would scale up to more people and would not be accessible to more people. So the current version, the code is completely open source. It will be open source, and there's a link to the GitHub repository as well, so that people can add in their own skills. They can become part of the community, and they can contribute back to the community whatever they have developed for their specific use cases. Because like over the course of this entire Kickstarter and prior to this, I've heard of so many interesting use cases that people have come up with, which I myself would never have been able to even dream and imagine of.
Yeah, and it's not like it's outside of it's a language that other developers and hardware enthusiasts don't understand. It's based on the Raspberry Pi, so like you said, there's already a very rich ecosystem of knowledge and hardware that's supported and all that kind of stuff. So hackability sounds like a big benefit. I've noticed in a lot of the things that I've seen through the Kickstarter and your kind of intro video and stuff, that the videos and GIFs that play, it's almost like, so Pico moves as it's playing things, which gives it a certain personality, but it's almost like the movements are timed with the content. For example, there's one of Keanu Reeves, I think for The Matrix, where he kind of looks towards the camera and you see Pico kind of lean forward. Oh, yeah. And it's kind of timed. And I don't know if that's just luck, or is there some sort of like content scanning to kind of sync up with motions? How does that work?
No, so content scanning is definitely it's like a great idea. It's technically a challenging idea, but that's something that I'm exploring, and a couple of other people also are interested in the project are exploring themselves. Right now, it does not do any content scanning. So a lot of the timing that you see was based on luck. So essentially, when you program in a response, what you can select is you can select a specific movement that you want to attach to that response. So it's like look up, look down, look left, look right, nod, bounce up, bounce down. You can set like a speed or timing to it, which you can be depending on the type of non-verbal cue you want to give. And you can program everything else. You can say what kind of LED animation you want that goes along with it, what kind of response category you want, and what essentially you want him to do. So so all of this is going to be built out, one, as an extremely accessible way to be able for anybody who doesn't have the technical skills to add in a response, a custom response, and at the same time for people who do want to dive in deeper to the code to modify it to their heart's content and build out whatever responses they want.
Nice.
So people who follow the weird, nerdy, wonderful maker scene on the internet might know you from some of your other projects. One was the Super Mario AR. I believe it was in Central Park. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the Super Mario AR project in Central Park. So yeah, I get a lot of questions about that one. So that was essentially a project that I built for the Microsoft HoloLens. It was not affiliated to Microsoft or Nintendo in any way. It was just kind of my own personal exploration of first-person AR. So I basically recreated the entire iconic first level of Super Mario Brothers as a life-size first-person game that you could play as Mario. So you would essentially be the player moving through this entire life-size Mario level, and you could complete it and have all the interactions that we were used to of seeing on a flat 2D screen, but actually experience them in 3D, in volumetric 3D.
That is amazing. Of course, if anyone's ever used the HoloLens, though, what you're seeing here is like a full world surrounded by all this stuff, which would be freaking amazing. But HoloLens kind of limits you to this like credit card size view.
Yeah,
so everything else is kind of blocked out.
Exactly. So it does limit you. So what you're kind of seeing on screen right now is probably, it's got like maybe 20% a little extra real estate than what I was actually seeing through the HoloLens itself. But yeah.
Love it.
The fact that Mario also worked for this is because it's a very linear game. So all the action that's happening is kind of happening in front of you. So, and it happens a little bit further ahead of you. That also kind of worked well within the constraints of the HoloLens's limited field of view.
Wow, that is so cool. I love this.
So you said earlier you like to make people fall in love with things, but I mean, really, all this stuff just makes people smile, and there's so much not to smile about when you go on the internet. So it's just so wonderful. Tell me about the Lumens, the smart shoes.
Yeah, so Lumen smart shoes were also just, so a lot of my projects are kind of explorations, and the exploration point of view of either me learning a new skill, because all of these skills are quite recently acquired over the past couple of years. So Lumens were smart shoes that you could control and customize via an iPhone app. So they were completely 3D printed, and they had these entire LED, this LED chain embedded in that 3D printed shoe itself, and you could customize them, have animations. You could walk around in them, as you saw in the video, and basically it was just another thing to kind of bring a little bit of light into people's lives.
Well, Abhishek, thank you so much for joining us. If you like Pico, or you just want to support DIY and just people making things to make other people smile, cool, you can do that too. Check out his Kickstarter. You can find it at peeqo.com. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. It's really cool stuff. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, see you.